Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you Freddi Fish 2, The Case of the Haunted Schoolhouse for the Nintendo Switch. I remember I used to really love this game a long time ago, but it was such a long time ago that I actually forgot literally everything about it. So going into the Switch release, it was as though I was regaining all of my old memories, and then I said, oh yeah, so that's where that line came from. I remember now. So it was an amazing nostalgia trip. But not everyone is going to be buying this for the nostalgia. Most of you watching this are probably going to wonder, is it suitable for older people? And if I have kids, is it suitable for them? First off, if you've seen my Freddi Fish reviews in the past, which I've reviewed 3, 4, and 1 so far, the Switch has released them wildly out of order, with 2 and 5 being the final 2 releases to complete all 5 mainline Freddi Fish games. So I'm going to be reviewing both of them on the same day. They'll both come out at the same time, but I thought I'd review Freddi Fish 2 first because it's the older game, and I'd like to show you guys how 3, 4, and 5 improved upon its foundation. Right off the bat, I thought Freddi Fish 2 was significantly better than Freddi Fish 1. I think the plot is more interesting, having a ghost that's actually doing a threat to multiple people. The kelp seeds, that was an okay MacGuffin, but I feel like this is a lot more interesting because that is legitimately terrifying to young children, and it's satisfying to chase after the ghost at the beginning, and then it turns into a MacGuffin quest, but it is still very nice to see how the plot unfolds, and there's even a nice little twist at the end. It's nothing mind-blowing, but for a kid's game, that is some pretty deep stuff. I really like how the animation and the colors seem a bit more vibrant this time around. The voice acting has improved a bit. The puzzles seem a little bit easier, but then again, Freddi Fish games are supposed to be easy. They're made for children, so you don't really have to think too hard about any of these solutions. Normally, Freddi Fish and Luther will kind of sort of nudge you in the right direction anyway. They'll say, maybe if we had this kind of item, that would help us through this problem. What I also like about Freddi Fish 2 is that the MacGuffins that you find, which in this case are parts to build a trap to catch the ghost, you can actually collect them in any order. In the first game, I was really annoyed that the bottles that would lead you to the treasure chest, you had to pick them up in the exact order the game wanted. Even if you sequence broke the game, you would still have to get them in order. Additionally, in the first game, there would be characters that would have problems that you could solve, but even if you didn't need the items they gave to progress, you would still have the option to solve it, which meant that mean players could be like, well, I'm not going to help you because it's not required for the story. This game rectifies that by having those characters not appear at all or simply not putting them in perilous positions, which is really nice because if something isn't necessary, it helps repeat playthroughs to feel more distinct. In the first Freddi Fish game, I complained that even though the bottles were in different places in every playthrough, it didn't seem different enough because the characters were still all the same and you could still solve all the same problems. Whereas in Freddi Fish 2, things will appear and disappear and move around depending on which ghost parts you need to build the trap. So that's already a huge improvement. There's also a neat little mini game that you can play to get one of the purple sea urchins, which in and of itself is an improvement because another one of my biggest complaints in Freddi Fish 1 was that it felt too boring to grab the urchins, and their use in the story was kinda minimal. Now, this game has established that purple sea urchins are a form of currency, and therefore that carried into the rest of the series, making them feel less like afterthoughts. Additionally, with that one minigame and Freddi and Luther providing more unique commentary for each individual sea urchin, that also set the standard going forward for the rest of the series. Overall, I find Freddi Fish 2 to be a significantly more engaging time than 1, and actually, I might even go so far as to say it and 5 are pretty darn close to being my favorite in the series. I think it has more unique locations than 3. 4 is still pretty good, but I think the main reason I love 4 so much is because they give you so many suspects, and you have the opportunity to figure out who they are, whereas in this game, once you figure out the trick behind the ghost, it's pretty easy. Like, you don't get to pick who you think the culprit is. It kind of just happens, and at one point the game just gives it away before the finale. But then again, if you're watching this, you're probably not too concerned about spoilers, because if you're a person over the age of like 5 or 6, you're going to find this game to be painfully easy. But what I still think you'll love are the charming animations, the very of its time voice acting, and it's a very child-friendly experience. Like, if you have someone who's just getting into video games, this would be a really good place to start. And don't worry too much about continuity. There are a few returning characters from Freddi Fish 1, but the game is standalone itself that it doesn't really matter. If you want to just skip that first tech demo of a game and just go straight into this, you're totally fine. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this is basically a straight port of the original PC and Mac release. You're getting no additional special features, not even widescreen. It is pretty much preserving it exactly as it was back in the old days, which to people like me who have nostalgia, that's totally fine. But for people looking for a more refined experience with stuff like a remastered soundtrack or widescreen, you're not going to get it here. But if you want to introduce kids to a nice, friendly, relaxing experience, then this is a great place to start. Now that all 5 Freddi Fish games are on the Switch, if you want to get all of them at once, there is now a bundle on the eShop called the Freddi Fish Collection that has all 5 games for $40. $40 may seem steep, but you're getting 5 full-length games in there. Admittedly, they're not very long games. Well, Freddi Fish 1 through 4 aren't. We'll get to 5 when we get to it, but I do think $40 might be a little bit steep, but it's a decent price for very high quality games like this, even if hardly anything has changed. But if you don't want to take the plunge and buy all 5, then each of the individual games are about $12 each. And $12 is pretty fair. It's way better than what Nintendo charges for their remakes. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you think of the review and if you have any questions or critiques. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!